You are about to enter a great adventure.
This is Strutting from Gorilla.
Hey folks, welcome back to another episode of Strutting from Gorilla. I am Mikey Cash. With me as always is Big Vito. We're here to talk with you guys today about our love of wrestling. There's a lot of news in the wrestling world the last couple of weeks. I'm sure everybody and their mother's been talking about it. So we thought we would chime in on all of it and give you our 2 cents on what all the happens of pro wrestling right now. So what are we going to cover today, Vito? We're talking, obviously, CM Punk and his return at Survivor Series and his reunion tour of all the brands recently and what's going to come of that. We're going to talk a little bit about AEW and their never-ending promotion of All In 9 months from now. It's like they're like the whole promotion's pregnant. Before, sorry, Vito, go ahead.
Now, it's clobbering time, Mikey. It's clobbering time, baby. We sat here. We made our predictions and we were lost. We were like 50-50. We were like, this would be great if it happened. But we didn't think it was going to actually happen. We've been let down so many times. And man, I don't think it could have been any better, to be honest. I think they've capitalized on the whole situation. And I have enjoyed every second of it. So that's just me personally. And for all those people that hate CM Punk, that's completely fine. You can. I get it. He's the voice. He's the voice of the voiceless. I get it. I can see how it rubs people the wrong way. But God, it has been so good. And I think we got a lot to talk about. When it comes to him, I feel like we've been talking about him nonstop for a year. He always finds his way on our podcast, whether it's a slight reference or whatever it might be. He always does, but it has been good television and it has been great interactions on WWE. I honestly, I'll wait to get into it, but that's my 2 cents going into this. I'm excited about it. And I think it legitimately brings WWE to a different level.
It's almost killing you, Vito. That's how
I know.
How excited you are.
Yeah. So that's where I'm at. So are we we're just gonna
I think we should sort of just dive in. We're gonna touch on, like I said, we're gonna talk about AEW a little bit too. We have some news. They have the Continental Classic going on, the story with the Devil and MJF. Who is it? I think there's a lot to talk about here today. So obviously we start with CM Punk, but I'm just curious as just an add-on, what were your thoughts overall on Survivor Series? Because I know we didn't really get to review that, and this is we're kind of skipping over that. So just sort of general thoughts. What did you think of the show?
First of all, for the viewers listening, every time we do a show, we come prepared. Mikey Cash does a great job. He sets up like a note sheet of things we're going to talk about. And I bring this up because there was something missing from the note sheet. And I feel like it's the common theme of this Survivor Series, Mikey Cash. Poor Randy Orton gets love.
You're so right.
I know.
Just the redheaded stepchild of pro wrestling right now, just completely overshadowed.
Yeah, the poor guy got no love on his return at Survivor Series, and it was like a big return. I mean, Randy Orton, if you really look at his resume, is probably one of the better wrestlers of this generation. All around everything. He's out for like a year and a half with this like career-threatening injury, spends all this time, comes back, has a great debut, and nobody gave a shit. Like, he was so overshadowed by CM Punk. And, to WWE's credit, they gave him a lot of time on that return Raw, and he's gotten his just dues. But ultimately, CM Punk stole the show, and he's been what everyone's been talking about. So I just wanted to point that out because I thought it was very parallel to what actually happened in real life.
Because
and I knew you would laugh.
I completely forgot he existed.
And I purposely didn't add it to the sheet because I was like, oh, I can't wait to bring this up.
No, you're right. Well, just to offer a quick word, Randy Orton looked phenomenal. That dude is 45 and he is in incredible shape. I'm glad he was able to come back after those back injuries. That's really impressive. And I hope that he's able to have at least this last leg of his career go off without any more injuries and that it's really successful for him.
Yeah, and I will tell you, man, I'm not sure. He's the biggest I've seen him in his career. Like normally he's a very lean.
Yep. Yeah, he got big.
Kind of thing. Oh, he is bulky, and I don't know if that's the medicine or what, but whatever it is. He looks good. He looks good. I hope he's healthy and he's not gonna, push himself too far, but hopefully he's more on a limited schedule. And I do think he has a lot to offer for some of this younger talent, and he's in a different phase in his career, and hopefully he can add that element that needs to help put some of these younger guys over. And it's funny, we call them younger guys, but some of these guys have been around for quite some time now. Yeah. So
they seem like younger guys in the WWE system.
Oh yeah. So okay. Anyways, I digress. We're going back. So CM Punk, what the best part about the whole thing, I unfortunately was not watching Survivor Series live, which I was upset about. I didn't get a chance to watch the whole thing. I caught the snippets, but I think it was your text when you were like CM Punk's back. I think it was you, or maybe it might have been fan of the show Mike Westcott. He might have texted me. I don't know. But whatever it was, I was shocked. You see these rumors all the time, and 98% of the time they never happen, right? Outside of AEW when they have 20 debuts in one pay-per-view. But I was shocked just because of everything that went down, and like the way he left WWE, and like I never thought it was going to happen. I just never thought it was going to happen. And to Triple H's credit, I think it was a smart move. I mean, he's the hottest thing going. I think Vince used to say it all the time. Actually, I think JR said it, where like any news is good news, any publicity is good publicity. And it's one of those things where people just can't stop talking about him. It's so controversial, and I don't quite understand it, but it entices me. I enjoy watching him on television, and his promos are usually great. And so far it hasn't let me down. Like, I think the thing for me, and I'll let you two chime in on this, is there's so many interactions with multiple people in the company that I'm very much looking forward to, right? Very much looking forward to. What about yourself?
I mean, I think they handled the return, I think, as best as you can. When you look at the WWE, notoriously, there's always a lot of leaks. And I think even with this, there were some people saying, oh, it's going to happen. It's not going to happen. We got this source telling us it's going to happen. There's another source saying he tried a couple months ago and it didn't work out. So I think there was I think that's why you and I were both kind of 50-50 on it, because we really weren't sure. All things seemed possible there, where maybe he did try to come back and they said thanks, but no thanks. We're not interested. But I'm happy to see that it worked out. And I think it's a testament, like you were saying, to Triple H, because Triple H has been really great in recent years of sort of extending olive branches, being able to work with talent. I think he just has a more updated way with people than Vince. I think Vince at one point or another, there was a line that was crossed, and we all used to talk about it, that he just seemed like out of touch. So I think that this was part of that for him. I heard him at the press conference, and it really stood out to me when he was talking about, hey, it's been 10 years. I'm a different person than 10 years ago. He's a different person than 10 years ago. People grow, people change. Now, I believe in all that. And I think that for those two specifically, that's probably true. I think the tensions that they had, it's been 10 years, man. I mean, they're probably not going to be holding that grudge forever, hopefully. But unless you're Colt Cabana, and then he just hates you. But I say that on purpose because as much as things might change, things might also remain the same. And I think that's where there's that worry of how is this going to go? And you speaking of all of the people that he could possibly face, the one that they've come back to time and time again, and then most recently last night, is something with Seth Rollins. And I know that you had texted me this morning and said, did you see the Rollins Punk segment? It was awesome. And so I watched it probably just 20 minutes ago before I got on with you today. And it was really great. What did you think? Give your thoughts first, because I know you were really into it.
Yeah, that was one of the big ones that I was waiting for, and I always, what entices me to getting my eyeballs on television is when they draw that line between what's real and what's not real, right? And this one, you've had Rollins talking about CM Punk, Phil, when he left, and there was a lot of tension between the two of them. And was it real? Was it fake? Who knows? I mean, to me, it seemed real. And I was curious. And then you had the whole interaction when he comes back at Survivor Series. Rollins is flipping him off and doing all this. And is it real? Is it not real? I mean, damn, to me, it looked real. So, I love that. That's what keeps me going. And I miss a lot of that from like the Attitude Era, where you didn't know. There's a lot of times like, oh, this is real. And I personally think that CM Punk loves that. And I think Rollins does too. And
absolutely,
maybe they do hate each other in real life. It doesn't matter. I think both of them are professionals to some degree. I mean, you may not think CM Punk is because of everything that went on in AEW, but I think he can be more professional than you think. I just think the people within AEW didn't have that mindset. They were more of the mindset, hey, we're anti-WWE. We're going to do things differently. And I think CM Punk kind of brought that old school, hey, I'm the veteran. I'm going to tell you what needs to be done. And they were like, well, screw you. And I think that whole thing just went off. Where I think in WWE, it's much more professional, and they're like, we talked about this on the last episode. It's more structured, right? There's those safety nets of people back there who have been there, and a veteran leadership, and the locker room's good. And I think they're all, it seems like for the first time in a long time, there are many stars in WWE, and they all seem like they're all looking to do what's best for business, right? They're all looking to see, okay, it's Cody's time. He's going to do this, right? Only one I see that's having a problem, that's kind of gotten screwed, is Drew McIntyre, right? Like he won the title with no one in the arena, held it forever, and poor guy hasn't gotten his due. But it seems like they make those people right when they need to, in some way, shape, or form. And I think this is going to be set up for good. Like last night, they also had some interactions with Kofi Kingston.
Yeah, I saw that. That was funny.
Punk. Yeah, and
he was like, "You're making me crazy." He's like, "I don't do that anymore."
Yeah, he's like, "I don't do that anymore." And then he shakes Chad Gable's hands. He's like, "I've heard a lot of good things about you." And he looks at Ricochet and he goes, "I hear you suck at video games." It's just like stuff like that. And then he came out in NXT, which was
good.
But it was
funny.
It was funny. It was good. But it was also a weird segment because it seemed like there was no reason for him to be out there. But it still was great. He comes out in a Bret the Hitman Hart shirt
with Shawn Michaels.
But like only CM Punk has the balls to do that type of stuff. And like I think some of those veteran guys appreciate it. Like they know he's not really being an asshole. He's just doing his shtick. Like that's who he is.
It's his gimmick. It's his gimmick at this point.
Yeah, he's gonna be the asshole guy that is gonna get on you because that's what he does, and you need to get up to his level. I mean, shit, he did it with the owner of the company and Triple H when he was there, and at that time, like he was the anti-establishment, right? Like, and I think we all felt it because we all hated WWE at that point. We were all like, "This is garbage stuff." We continued to watch and drag ourselves through the awful stuff that we were watching. And he kind of gave you that refresher of like, you know what? We agree with you, but we're still going to sit here and watch.
Yep. That's exactly what it was. And at that time with 2010, 2011, with the pipe bomb and everything, that was more, you know, we don't need to get in a whole retrospective, but that was more him actually being the voice of, at the time, I think the audience really was voiceless in it. It was just Vince wanted to do what he wanted to do. He wasn't really listening to anything. And it was showing in the product that was on television. Now, like you said, it's a way different ball game. You mention a lot of the different stars there having this sort of professionalism and sort of understanding what their sort of role is for the whole story of what they're presenting each week. And again, I come back to Triple H because the guy has a lived experience. This guy knows what it's like to sort of be in that kind of environment and to have to rally and that sometimes the spotlight's not always going to be on you, even though he tried a lot of times back in the day.
He had it better than a lot of people.
But I think that helps too, because I think he understands why you'd want to do it. I think he understands that need to try to rebel. So I think he understands CM Punk perfectly. Quite honestly, I think he understands that, because look at where Triple H came up. Think of how tumultuous it was backstage from the late 90s into early 2000s. There was tons of fights going on. Michaels was doing tons of drugs and was like all over the place. That whole stuff with Brett, that was huge stuff going on backstage. The way they handled politics and confrontations back then were much different than now. So I think you have Punk, who has that kind of mentality, took that into AEW. AEW didn't have the infrastructure to really handle that, whether it's naivete on Tony Khan's part, whether it's naive Omega, the Bucks, whoever the hell was backstage, apparently thought things were just going to be sunshine and rainbows when you get people into the AEW locker room. I mean, Eddie Kingston, hello? Like, he's not exactly sunshine. But anyway, I'm getting off track here. Let's bring it back. Bottom line is, he's on this jolly old Saint Punk tour. Looks like he signed with Raw now. He declared himself for the Royal Rumble. They even said it on commentary. It's going to be 10 years to the day of him being in his last WWE match. So I wonder if they're just not going to have him wrestle until the Royal Rumble. He'll just come out, do some promos and whatnot. But that promo with sorry to jump in here, but that Punk segment with Rollins was great. And the reason it was great was for kind of all the reasons we were just mentioning. Like, all of that influences this year is that it felt real. There's probably part of it that is. Odds are, though, that because it's WWE, they probably talked about all of this beforehand. Like, I know people online are like, I can't believe he said that. But guess what? They've talked about it. This isn't a surprise, because what happened the last time there was a surprise? He did not respond very well. No. So I think a lot of things they're all running things past each other. This is a performance. And the best kind of performances are the ones that you can't tell are real or not. So I think that's why this hit the way it did.
Yeah, I think they're handling it perfectly. I just think, I look at it too, and you look at WWE and it's riddled with guys, especially since Triple H took over, that they're gaining more steam and they are building more stars. Like, Rollins is on a new level. Roman Reigns is on a level of his own. But I think, the Punk situation now evens out SmackDown and Raw. Like, I look at it like there wasn't, and there wasn't a lot I was looking at Raw. Like, I like Rollins, I do, but like, he wasn't making me tune in every week. But now, if you get a guy like Punk who's making me tune in because you don't know what he's going to say, you're curious to see these interactions. He almost is at that Roman Reigns level just because of his aura. And I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. This is just my feeling, but if you can get viewers on Raw and you get viewers on SmackDown and you actually make them viable shows against each other, then that's exciting, right? And I'm not sure Raw had that as much as SmackDown because of Roman. When Roman's on there, people want to tune in. And then you got like everybody else on Raw LA Knight, and now you kind of have a comparable show, and it's exciting to see. And yeah, that segment with Rollins really it was the first time in a long time that I watched it and I got a little bit of goosebumps. Like it was good to see, and like just the fire and the attitude to make Rollins have to step up to Punk's level, and that's what I want to see. And I think that's what we're getting out of this. And I hope they keep doing it that way because it's great. And there's so many things that we're going to be able to see in the future. You know, is Punk going to go against Roman Reigns in the future? Punk versus Cody Rhodes, Punk versus all of these guys that I think can really elevate it. And I think if you look at it now, you have two possible main events at WrestleMania that I would tune into for multiple reasons. You got Rollins and Punk and Roman and Cody, right? Never mind all of the other matches that would be on the card that could be those headliners, but those are two really good ones for two belts. Like
Agreed.
Yeah, I mean,
there's a lot of potential. There's a lot of potential, and that's the exciting part. Is there's a lot of ways it could go. People are going to complain, and I'm just kind of used to that by now. But there's a lot of different ways this could go. And even if it's next year, he fights Reigns, and either it's for the title or not for the title. Who knows how long that dude's going to hold it for? I don't know if Cody will ever finish his story, but
I just hope they capitalize on it soon because
me too.
I don't want him to lose his steam, and there's a lot that can cause him to lose his steam. And I like Cody. I do
too.
But funny part,
they risk the diminishing returns.
They do. Well, just because of so much other stuff going on now, like, and I love this because it's elevating everybody to that next level. Like you have to be on that tier. If you're not elevating yourself, you're going to be lost in the shuffle, and it's on your own own accord.
And guess what? You're not going to be on the pay-per-view. That's what that means. I fucking love that.
But
I love that.
I do too.
Be selective.
But here's the thing, and I don't want this to get lost in translation because without AEW there, I'm not sure these levels would be where they're at. Like they are creating. You can argue about how much you hate what's going on in AEW or how much you love it, and that's fine. That's great. We all love that. But I don't think without that we have this right now, and I think it's great. So I just want to point that out because I don't want that to get lost in it. And we're going to argue, we're going to say how much we don't like the product at AEW right now, and that's fine.
Yeah, we'll save that for a few minutes. But
that's fine.
I am with you that the very fact that they exist has created competition, whether they admit it or not. The bottom line is they've created a viable wrestling company that other people can go to, other people are finding success in, and it's caused them to have to rethink their own strategy. And that's a good thing. They needed that. They needed that kind of shakeup, and they've responded. That's the thing. Now, when we talk about AEW, we'll talk about like what do they need to start doing, because now it's getting a little stale. But anyway, we're going to stick with WWE for now because there's a few more things I want to touch on. But I agree with you, Vito. Just the fact that they exist and that they've been doing what they're doing has caused a chain reaction within WWE and what they're presenting on all three of their brands.
Mikey, think of it this way. If those are the two main events for WrestleMania, that's two AEW stars that would be headlining WrestleMania.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, they came from WWE, but without going to AEW, you could argue what Punk would have happened with Punk. Who knows? Because he was big. If he came back to WWE in the first place, maybe it's the same. But I don't know that it is, and so it's just an interesting thing that could happen. So, we'll see. Yeah. The other piece that I find really really interesting is you look at. I'm curious to see how all these people like Eric Bischoff and Kevin Nash, who's Nash's boys with Triple H, and both of them went hard on CM Punk and how he was overrated and can't believe all this stuff. And now Triple H takes him back. And if you've read or listened to Kevin Nash's podcast, he's changed his tune drastically, and Bischoff too, like a little bit, but it's just.
I think that's always going to happen. It's sort of like we've been friends for a long time, but it's like, you hate something and then your friend starts doing it and you're like, oh, all right, I guess it's not that bad. I'm going to support my friend. Just even though I think it's kind of a shitty move, I guess I'm just going to go along with him. So I think that's sort of what's happening here.
And it's no different than what Kevin Nash did with WCW and WWF, right? Like it's almost on the same plane.
It's
like
the same thing.
It's very similar in a different way. And it's great to see, and I'm all about it, man.
Yeah.
I am all about it.
I'm about it too. All right. We got a couple more points for WWE before we move to AEW. Charlotte, there's a lot of worry about her. She's a pivotal piece of that women's division, and I think probably their plans for Mania. I'm not sure exactly who she's going to be matched up against, but I think anytime you have Charlotte in a spotlight match on that WrestleMania card, she delivers. I mean, look, the last year she had a match of the year candidate with Rhea Ripley. So I'm kind of worried that this past Friday, it looked like she hurt herself. There was like a messed up spot in the corner on the turnbuckle with Asuka, and like her knee got all fucked up. So I'm not exactly sure what's going on. I don't really like to read wrestling journalism, but
I love it.
Some of the news is that they're a lot more concerned than they initially thought. But anyway, I just hope she's all right. And even if she is hurt, she can get back in time for Mania. It's 4 months from now. So
yeah,
hopefully it's nothing serious that needs surgery or anything like that.
No, and it's never great to see an injury like that. It doesn't matter. Women's wrestling, not women's wrestling. You never want to see something like that. But what I will say is luckily WWE has a stacked women's division, and there are a lot of people.
It's true.
There's a lot of people who have a chance to step up, and you're right. Who is there going to be someone? It's like losing Shawn Michaels in a WrestleMania match. Like she seems to step up, always has a great match, but at the same time, maybe it gives someone else an opportunity to have that moment. And
true.
As much as I would love to see her there, and I wouldn't want to see her get hurt, I still think there's a lot of viable matches that can can happen.
Yeah, that roster's deep in WWE right now, and all of them seem good. All of them have had something meaningful to do.
Yep.
So we'll see what happens with it, but we'll see where they go from here. I wanted to give my thought on Deadline. I know I'm not sure how much of an NXT guy you are, Vito. I know it's not your number one show to watch, but I checked out Deadline on Saturday. It was a fun show, man. NXT has been putting on some good shows. I wanted to touch on Trick Williams and Carmelo Hayes because one, whoop that Trick. That dude is on fire right now. Everybody loves that dude. He's so good. And like he seemingly kind of came out of nowhere. Like he was Carmelo Hayes' like friend and kind of like hype man, and then slowly sort of like branched out on his own into a singles career. And for some reason or another, the crowd just got behind him. Like it just sort of like organically happened, which you love to see in pro wrestling. And right now there's this story going on of who attacked Trick Williams. And it's really funny that Shawn Michaels is basically in charge of the show. And the vibe that I am getting from this, it's like it's a variation of that summer 2002 story with who attacked Shawn Michaels in the parking lot and Triple H just trying to figure out who it is, and then it turns out it's Triple H, right? I think this is what's happening with Trick and Carmelo Hayes. They had Brian Pillman Jr. debut as Lexus King, and he claimed to take responsibility for attacking Trick Williams. After the Deadline match, he basically gets on the mic after he loses the match, and he's like, Carmelo, it wasn't me. I didn't attack him, but thanks for that pay-per-view rub. So basically, he just lied about it so he could get on the pay-per-view, which is like kind of a little bit of a Brian Pillman thing to do. And so now the mystery is back on of who attacked Trick Williams. I just wanted to throw a shout out to it because I actually think it's a pretty compelling story. They've done a good job with it. And,
I will be honest. I have not paid as much attention. You're 100% correct. I'm not saying it's bad. I just haven't. But I do know. I think Shawn Michaels is the perfect fit for that role. And my question though is, what's the deal with Braun Breaker? like, are they just never gonna bring him up, or is it like, because I feel like at one point he was like the star of that show, and you know, I don't know. I felt like he would be a guy that would be on the main roster by now.
I think they probably just want a little bit more polish for him before they put him into the main roster. And like you were just saying before, it's a pretty stacked main roster right now. So if you put a guy on there, you don't really want him to get lost in the shuffle. Right now, I would imagine we might see him at the Rumble and see how he does in that environment. But I don't know if they'll call him up until maybe after Mania when things settle down. Because if you're getting into that mode where you're building up to the big show, and you know how they get, I wouldn't want him up there and then it feels like you just wasted 3 months and him getting lost in sort of people's consciousness on the roster. Leave him down in NXT right now where he has a fan base. The guy's got one of the best spears in the business. No offense to Roman, but that dude just, if you go on to their YouTube or whatever, or like there's a ton of montages of his spears from Deadline. He just he was crushing people.
Yeah.
This dude's a beast. He's a Steiner through and through.
Yeah, it's just interesting. And I also got Baron Corbin down there too. And
yeah, doing well.
I mean,
too.
I wonder too, like there's only so much TV time to go around, and there's a lot of guys that deserve TV time for Raw and SmackDown.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you would look at Gunther and like even that guy, like, you know,
yeah.
When is they're going to elevate him to the next level? Like, where's the room? You know, like you got all these guys up there. It's a good problem to have, right? But how do you manage
compared to how it used to be? Yeah, it's a great problem to have.
Yeah, I just the cool thing about NXT and then going to the main roster now is I feel like Triple H has more of a respect for those guys, and I think you'll see those guys come up and they won't get buried like Vince McMahon used to do with some of them. And I don't know. I got faith that Triple H can't do everything right. You know what I mean? Like there's going to be falters in the system here, but I give him credit. I think we're going to see a lot more right than wrong and stuff that's going to make us happy and enjoy watching the show than in years past. And it's not a discredit to Vince. We've talked about this before. It's just his time was up, and I think Triple H is very privy. I'm not sure there's many. Weirdly enough, though, like, you know, Triple H gets a lot of crap for the fact that, you know, he married Vince's daughter, and like a lot of people say, you know, would he be where he is without that? And weirdly enough, I think Triple H is very, you know, he was the cerebral assassin for a reason. He knows the business in and out. He's paid his dues. He understands what it's like to come through, but he also understands the back part of wrestling, you know, and it shows because it's the little things that make a big difference. And he's got the influence of Vince, who he's learned from, which is a great person to learn from. But then he also has the other piece to it where he's been there and he understands what it's like to be a wrestler. So it's exciting to see, you know, I right now, I think all things are pointing up for him. And it's good stuff. So, but I'm curious to see how NXT translates into WWE now, because I feel like it was kind of like the stepchild of Vince McMahon, and he didn't really give a shit too much about it.
Yeah, I agree with you, because obviously Triple H was the head of NXT for a long time. And I think in his mind, he's viewing this as, if we can present these NXT stars once they get to the main roster, if we can present them well and in a believable way and to get the crowd behind them, you're talking about ensuring the future of your business. So it's in his best interest 100%. To make sure that these people are put in the best position they can to succeed. So I don't think that he views it the same as Vince at all, where I think Vince was just lost in translation. That's kind of the way I look at it. This was like a new generation kind of ecosystem. It was, you know, you're basically creating a territory. That's kind of what you had to do. You created it. You give people time to get seasoned. And for whatever reason, Vince just like I don't think he understood it. Now with Triple H at the helm, Shawn Michaels down in NXT, you have two guys that are largely on the same page. So I think you're going to see a lot of continuity in how people are presented from NXT into the main roster. You won't see like a gimmick shift necessarily. I mean, maybe that'll happen here and there, but I think they're going to do a good job of sort of trying to protect them and getting them well seasoned. And what NXT's been doing particularly well is they have incorporation of some of the main roster stars. I mean, Becky Lynch just had a run down in NXT. The New Day have had a run in NXT. You got Dom Mysterio down there all the time too, which is like, it's kind of like dual fold for him because he is younger too. So it's probably good for him to get those reps, but it's, you got Rhea Ripley going down there with folks. So I think that's really great because you only learn by working with people better than you. So NXT is doing a good job of that, of getting them ready for what is it going to look like for you when you're working with these folks on a weekly basis.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting because now they're going to be on CW, right? And so is that going to require them to have a little bit more star power on there?
I bet.
I don't know. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah. So should we talk about WrestleMania thoughts? Is it too early to do this? I mean, we kind of already touched on what we think two of the potential main events are going to be.
I think we should save it for another episode. If you want my honest opinion, I think it's too early. I think it's too early. We can talk. We can touch on the main event because that can always be a thing. But I think let's do a little bit. Let's do another.
Yeah.
Plus, I feel like we need Sarge here for that. I feel like we need.
We do need Sarge. Sarge, if you're listening, we miss you, man. We need you to get back on here.
We do. And I'm curious to see. We're gonna have to go back to the tapes about his thoughts on CM Punk from a few episodes ago and they run him back a little bit. Let's see if his tune.
Should we put him on? We're gonna put him on TikTok. We're gonna have him as a specific clip.
We'll see if his tune has changed.
Yeah.
Actually, he went from being he didn't really like CM Punk, this whole thing, to then saying that Raw was gonna blow Monday Night Football out of the water when CM Punk was back. So I can't wait to get this.
I don't know.
I want this feedback.
Well, I think going up against the Giants game, anything will.
Fair point.
My boys won last night. Tommy DeVito.
Yep. Tommy DeVito.
Anyway.
Tommy Cutlet.
Tommy, you see his agent looking like Tony D'Angelo over there. All right, let's jump into AEW. All right.
Yeah.
Let's do it. So what do they got going on right now? They got the Continental Classic, which I think has actually been an interesting tournament. I think they've modeled this after like New Japan and like the G1 and all that stuff, where it's kind of this like round robin. You have like different leagues, like the Blue League, the Gold League. It's interesting. It's led to a lot of really good matchups.
Can I give you my thoughts on it?
You seem to have them ready to go, so get on it.
Only because I think it's stupid as shit. I'm gonna be honest. Like, I'm all about different stuff. I'm all about.
It almost came out of my nose. Sorry.
Yeah, I don't follow it at all. Mm-hmm. I could give two shits about it. Like, I think it's weird. Like, the scorecard system, 3 points for this, 0 for that. Who's in it? Who's left? Too much. Like, just do a bracket and winner loser goes on. Like, that's all I need. This weird thing. I mean, good for them for trying something new, 100%. But this is Vito's thoughts of this. I think it's stupid. I don't see any validation behind it. So,
well, it's their way to unify 3 different titles, apparently.
Yeah, but one whole side is done. The other side hasn't even started yet. Like, I can't figure out who's winning, who's not. Like, it's just like, I don't know. I think it's a giant mess, if you want my opinion, but good for them for trying something different. I mean, I loved when they used to have the win-loss records. I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah, they got rid of that quick, huh?
I mean, you knew that was going to happen because at some point, like, there are going to be people who are losing a lot more than winning. And then what happens? It like blows up their spot. You know what I mean? It doesn't make any sense, but I thought it was a cool concept.
Yeah. Well, I think some of it's not necessarily the concept of the tournament. It's led to some good matchups. So I think Bryan Danielson wrestling with an eye patch is kind of badass. It's kind of badass and up his alley at this point in his career. Swerve, that dude continues to impress. Like, he's a main eventer, and it really, people talk about whether it's a huge WWE mistake by letting him go, but maybe this needed to happen. I think it's sort of similar to Cody and other folks that go elsewhere, build a name for themselves, and come back. Like, he could end up doing that at some point down the line, and he's really making it for himself. So I'm happy for him.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think Swerve is a complete high spot in AEW right now, and I'm sure Triple H and their whole team is wishing they had him back, and I think there's a lot of runway with him, and I think we said this last time on the show that he's just got this different demeanor. And I also think the guy, and we've said this before, but I love the dude who comes out with them and he's like, Swerve, dancing. Yeah. I think it adds the whole mystique. But no, I think it's good. I do. I think it's good. I think there's a few things that are good. I like we've said in the past, and it just continues to be the same thing. There's a lot of good. There's a lot of bad. And there seems to be some weird directions that they're going, but I mean, it's not a bad product. It's not WCW. Like in the end, it's just they'll get there. You got to remember, they're still only 4 years old. You know what I mean? And I think they're doing the right stuff, and they've made strides that other companies haven't, and it continues to elevate every other promotion that's out there, TNA, NWA, you know what I mean? Like GCW, like if a couple of those other, I think there's an opportunity here though, where some of those other companies have a chance to overtake them a little bit, but it seems like they continue to merge. Like, is it Will Ospreay? He's fighting in TNA, right? In against who is he fighting against? I can't think of it off the top of my head, but like, I think if they continue to do that and work with those companies, you're going to see them continue to grow. But it's hard. I think their chance with Punk, like I said, they need somebody who's going to get eyeballs on there. Like, but they still need to continue to build their own stars, right? No question.
Yeah, it's a balance.
That's the bread and butter. But having CM Punk there was a big thing for them. Like, I mean, they created a show strictly for CM Punk, and without him there, it's practically shit the bed, Collision. So I'm curious to see how things go.
Me too. I think, I had a rant ready for AEW today about the CM Punk thing, because you hear all the scuttlebutt on X, on Insta, on Threads, everywhere about how toxic CM Punk is. And listen, I actually agree with you that there was a level of toxicity with this dude. At the same time, I think when you just claim that, you sort of oversimplify things. And you're also neglecting that there's a whole truth here that probably none of us will ever know. And it likely includes the other three that people tend to put halos over, Kenny Omega and the Bucks, and even Tony Khan for that matter. There's all this talk of like, oh, the locker room's still not recovering from Punk. And at this point, he hasn't fucking been there since September. Like, enough already. Enough. If you can't recover from something that happened that long ago at this point, when he's clearly gone, then there's something wrong with the company. There's something wrong with how it's being run then. You have to look in the mirror at that point and say, well, if the person's no longer here and I'm still feeling this way, well, guess what? Then I have to do some personal work. And I think there's something going on there. When AEW first came about, I remember seeing those reports of, oh, things are just like so great in the locker room. Everyone's there's so much camaraderie and all that. Well, you couldn't have thought that was going to last forever. You couldn't, and it didn't. There was all those reports that Eddie Kingston was getting into scuffles and shit backstage with Sammy Guevara and all that stuff. But like, I think obviously the eyeballs were on Punk because he was such a big name. So I think it just got like, it was more intensified when that news was coming out. But it wasn't. You're always going to have assholes in pro wrestling. He's just one of them. That's really what it comes down to. He's just one of those assholes that's going to walk through the door. In a particular system, he's going to be able to do all right. And I think in WWE, they're going to be able to sort of cage him enough to sort of channel him in a productive direction. And so far it's working. We'll see. But so far it's working. But at some point, you have to adjust the way you run your business to be able to accommodate that, because you might get big stars that are going to come into the company here and there as time goes on that are going to be complete dickheads. And you're going to have to figure out how to work with them, because you're not going to like everyone you work with. I'm not saying you need to be that the fighting was okay and all that stuff. Like, none of that was fine, but you have to make adjustments to how you run your backstage to be able to manage those personalities. And I'm looking right at Tony Khan about this, because I really feel like sometimes he's too much of a fan and not enough of a boss. He comes out and sits down and it's like, I felt like my life was in danger. No, you didn't. I don't believe that. I know that this might be a controversial take here, but I don't believe that. I think he had to say what he needed to say in order to, fire him for cause or whatever it was. But I mean, I don't buy it. I don't buy it. So I think, it all ends with stop talking about him on TV. Stop mentioning him in interviews. Stop all of it. Pretend this guy didn't exist now. Like, it's over. Cut him off. And he's just like the distant cousin you don't talk to anymore, right? That's all you need.
Yep.
Move forward.
Mikey, I was just letting you go there. I was just letting you go there. Great rant. I wanted you to get it all out of your system. But a couple of things to branch on. I'm going to go in three different directions here with this, because I want to touch on a couple of things. Number one, keep mentioning CM Punk. All they're doing is alienating the people who did like CM Punk, and continuing to mention him makes people want to watch the other product. And it's one of those things, like, at this point, you're right. Don't even mention him. Move on with what you're doing. Focus on what you do well, and go from there. So that's number one. Number two, and WWE does a good job of that, by the way. When someone leaves their company, we hate it because they don't mention them, they alienate them. But at the same time, they don't make it so that that other person is getting those eyeballs to move to the other show, So that's number one. Number two, the thing about AEW, and pay close attention to this, because it is, I think, the key, and we've said it before, but when Cody Rhodes left AEW, that's when I feel like things shifted. I really do. I really do think that happened, and I think he brings this level of professionalism and this understanding of the business that makes a huge difference. And I think that's a huge factor for AEW, because if you look at when he left, that is when all of this started happening. I mean, there were issues before and everything, but it just seems like whatever reign was there and organization just kind of went, and has slowly just been going off the rails since then. And then on the flip side, if you look at WWE, they were already run really well, but I feel like he brought this piece over to them that's kind of elevated the talent, where they're all on the same page. And maybe it's because he comes in and says, hey, we're going to do what's best for the company. I'm going to lose at WrestleMania. I'm going to do this. And it spreads, right? And I think that's a big thing. So that's the other piece I wanted to touch on. And the third piece I can't remember now, because I went on like so.
I was like, where's number three?
I can't remember what the third piece. Oh, I know what it was. When your main event of a Dynamite is Edge versus Christian, which wasn't a bad match, but it's two 50-year-old guys that are well past their prime, even though Christian's doing some of his best work right now. That shouldn't be your main event for a Dynamite. Like, it should be focused upon the people that are building the company, or maybe you split the two of them, or you save that match for a pay-per-view, whatever it might be. I get it. The emotions are there. It's a good storyline. I'm not saying it's bad.
Yeah,
it's
probably the better storyline they have going right now.
Yeah, but that's WCW all over again. When you had Hulk Hogan versus Macho Man or something, like, it's like two old guys that they can bring it, and they're going to bring eyeballs. But if that's your best storyline, what are you doing? You know what I mean? If that's the only thing that's getting people there, and you're putting a half hour of a 2-hour show on two guys that are that old, I just don't think that it's the right way to do it. That's just my opinion. And again, people can argue, they can say that storyline's great. That's fine. I wouldn't disagree, but I just think we can get more excitement there. That's all.
Yeah. I think them being in Canada,
I think that you know what,
you want to do that. There's probably sentimental value for them to have that match between the two of them from the friends and family.
Fair point. That's a fair point. I didn't even put that together. So, okay. I'll take it back a notch on that one. But it's still, though, That shouldn't be, the.
It can't be the only thing. I think
No.
that
No.
I
And
agree. It can't be the only thing. It's the balance you're talking about. And we're probably going to get heat for this because it's going to sound like we're just shitting on AEW. I like AEW. I want them to be good. This is the same thing I used to do 10 years ago when WWE was fucking terrible. I love it. You need to get
10
better.
years ago? How about like a year ago?
I know. Yeah, but it's been going on sporadically for all that time.
The tune has changed drastically in the last like 24 months. If you go back and
listen to some early Gorilla episodes, holy smokes, way different tone.
Way different tone. And listen, we're men of we will tell you when we're right, we will tell you when we're wrong, right? And I'm just going to go with what I feel and what I think is good in the moment, and that's pretty much how I feel on all of that.
Yeah.
So, hey, one thing I did want to touch on, it's hot off the presses, I think last night,
sure.
and we here Strutting from Gorilla have breaking news that I thought was really interesting, and it's AEW related. How about this bad boy right here? And I know I realize that's not a great picture. We're both still on screen. But for those podcast listeners, I have a picture of John Cena shaking MJF's hand at the Iron Claw premiere. And I'm going to take this off the screen because honestly, it looks awful with both of us.
It's weird. It's like all of us are together.
We're still figuring out StreamYard, which has been a great platform. But what a picture right there.
This is great.
First of all, there's two sides of this. Number one, it's like interesting that John Cena would publicly take a picture with MJF. Like that's kind of a weird one. He's like the Hulk Hogan of WWE, right? And very interesting. Like, and it wasn't like a photo, hey, they're talking backstage. Like that was clear as day. He's shaking his hand and wants people to see it. Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So I'm curious how that's panning out. Is that him like saying, hey, dude, like you're doing great, come to WWE, like, or is again, I
yeah, you sound like everybody on Twitter right now.
But why else would he do it? Like, I don't know.
Because he's another wrestler who's getting into the Hollywood business, just like he did. And what did he need at the time? He probably needed like a mentorship or somebody to at least give him a pat on the back, like, hey, listen, you doing all right? I heard this too, that I know your scene was cut pretty drastically and that you don't have any speaking lines in the film anymore, but this shit happens, I think maybe you just need somebody there that's been through it to sort of help him through the transition.
What would you do if John Cena showed up at AEW?
I think that would be. I actually don't think it'll happen.
No, I don't
think it'll happen.
No way.
I would be, in a word, flabbergasted. Flabbergasted if John Cena showed up in AEW. But I don't believe that'll ever happen.
I don't believe that'll ever happen either.
There's just a vibe you get from John Cena. Like, I don't think he's gonna ever go anywhere else.
I mean, talk about your like Hulk Hogan to WCW moment.
Yeah.
Like that would be
nuts. That would be
imagine nuts. He comes back and then does like a whole Hulk Hogan thing and
you just want a new
2023
version
this is just
of the
me.
NWO.
No,
we don't need that.
This is just me going off the rails. I honestly it was an interesting picture. I didn't wake up this morning expecting to see a picture of John Cena.
No, I didn't either.
Shaking hands. Like it was very interesting.
Well, it does remind me to let our listeners and viewers know, go back into our archives, watch the episode with Vinnie Berry, Lance by Chance. He's writes about Lance's life. It's an authorized biography about how Lance Von Erich got into the wrestling business. So you're probably going to get a lot more out of that book than you are out of that movie. So I think you should go onto his website, wrestleville.com, and check it out. You can get a signed copy of the book. So we love our guy, Vinnie Berry. So anytime we can give him a shout out, we got to do it.
Yeah, we got to get him back on season 3. Get him on
video.
Get him on video. And have him back on again. So we will. He's been on, at least once a season. So we'll see if we can get him back on. I'm sure he will. He's a good friend of the podcast here.
So since you showed that picture of MJF, should we ask a little bit about who the devil is?
Yeah.
You don't know.
It reminds me a lot of, remember Aces and Eights on TNA?
Oh, yeah. Oh, man, what a comparison.
But it's the same thing. You get this buildup, and I watched the product because I was like, oh, who is this? Who is this? And then when it turned out being like Bubba Ray Dudley or something, I can't remember who it was. Yeah,
it was.
I don't know. I have no idea who it is. To me, it has to be Jungle Boy. Like that's who.
Oh, you think so? Okay, that's
I
one.
think
Hey, that's a good one. That's a good one.
I think so. I think who else can it possibly be? That or it's Adam Cole, and
But Adam Cole's injured. But even so, even injured, he could still be the one behind it, and they could just prolong that story.
Or it's Britt Baker, right? Britt Baker is the devil, and
she has been pretty vocal lately about her lack of TV time.
A lot of them have been, and actually, I heard that Daniel Bryanson is fining everybody that complains about.
Yeah, right.
That's what I heard. That's a true story from my wrestling gossip.
Your inside scoop.
Yeah, my insiders have that scoop.
Mm.
So,
but we'll see how it shakes out. I think it's Adam Cole. I think it's a combination of like Wardlow and the Kingdom. I mean, it feels like they're already they've sort of shown that already. But
the good news is their storyline directions are all over the place. It could be anybody.
It could be anyone.
So it's like to their credit, because they're got this chaos. Chaos creates chaos, and that's what's happening.
It's been one of their more interesting stories lately. So I'm with it.
The other thing I want to touch on for AEW, I heard before we end here. I heard a interview with Chris Jericho, and me personally, I'm a Chris Jericho fan. I think you are too, for the most part. But he said something the other day. Someone asked him about his like legacy or whatever it was, and he goes, I think he's not a guy who talks a lot about himself, really. And to his credit, he puts people over. He does the stuff that's right for business. I really like Chris Jericho, but he's mentioned something that I thought was really interesting. He goes, when I retire, I think people are going to look back in my career and realize that I have wrestled some of the best wrestlers ever. I'm the only person. He goes, I've gotten Stone Cold and The Rock and some of the new generation and the Hulk Hogan's. And he's like, he literally has.
Like, worked with everybody. Undertaker.
Yeah. And I think you'll look back at his matches and be like, man, this guy really wrestled the best in the business. And there's not a lot of people that can say they've been able to do that. And it's a pretty interesting concept. I never really thought about that, but it's true.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a testament to his longevity and his work ethic.
I don't think AEW would be where they are without him. I think he brought eyeballs to that, incredibility to that, more than most people could. So
absolutely.
We'll see how it pans out. The other thing I wanted to say before we sign off, because I want to give this shout out. If you've looked at our TikTok, which if you haven't, you should. We have our number one grossing, our most viewers, because we haven't made it.
We sure as shit ain't made no money. So.
Was our LA Knight video with our friend of the podcast, Mike Westcott's daughter, Abby. They went to their first WWE event in Providence, Rhode Island this past Friday. The SmackDown.
They were at SmackDown?
Tribute to the troops. They did a family night. Uncle Vito wanted to go, but had a prior commitment and couldn't. So big shout out to them. They had their LA Knight shirts on and they were ready to go. Here they had a great time, and hopefully we have some new WWE fans. And like I said, maybe one day we'll have them on the podcast.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. So shout out to them. I hear she's a big Abby's a big TikTok star now because she got 12,000 views. So
yeah, she's bigger than us.
Deal. It's kind of a big deal.
We'll have her on.
Yeah, 100%.
All right. I was going to rant about All In, but I already had one rant today, so we'll save that for another episode. Bottom line, why are you promoting this 9 months out? Like that, it's just annoying at this point.
Because they have to.
Why do you need 9 months to sell it?
Because they have to without CM Punk now. They
It's just like that. That's annoying. Like that. I don't know why. It just really like
annoying.
puts a hair across my ass about it. Like what's wrong with you?
Especially when
you have a pay-per-view in 2 weeks.
Yeah, and Tony Khan comes out probably every other week and says big announcement from Tony Khan, and one of them was All In tickets are on sale for a year from now.
Yeah, like thanks, big announcement. No, it's just a regular announcement. Just send an email. This could have been an email. That's a lot of his announcements. This could have been a tweet.
Could have been.
It would have been fine. Yeah, that's how I feel. Like enough already. Jesus. All right, I'm just getting old. That's what's happening. I'm just getting.
I love it.
Grouchy.
I love ranting Mikey Cash. It makes my day. Makes my day.
All right, I need another cup of coffee. It's time for this episode. Okay. Yeah. All right, folks. That's about it for this week. We're glad you guys are with us. Remember to listen, subscribe on your podcast feed, subscribe here on YouTube, and pay attention to our website. We have the updated feeds there. We have articles and more coming your way. So enjoy your holiday if we don't get to see you guys again before old Christmas and New Year's. But
happy holidays.
Happy holidays. And always remember, keep on strutting, jabronis.